Troy, I want to reclaim something that hasn't been mine for a while, but I want to do it anyway.
Yeah.
And that's the intro.
I see.
So,
Well,
if you don't mind.
Welcome, everybody.
Oh, no, he's not me
Average
intro
Blokes.
again. No, he's not me intro
Welcome,
again.
everybody, to the
How does he
Average
do this
Blokes
every time?
podcast. Yeah, that doesn't look planned. You're totally planning for me to do the intro. That's why you said you were going to try and take it back.
I mean, yeah, again. I was
Yeah,
going
were you
to.
actually planning on or not?
I was, but then you just lowballed it. And he's like, hello, welcome back to the talk show that we're totally doing.
You gotta get back into it. You gotta sneak it in.
Yeah, I've lost my touch.
Anyway, I am your official host for this episode.
Apparently. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I get to be the host this time.
Co-host for
Yeah.
once.
What do you mean co-host? Just because my name's not on the Spotify podcast.
I mean, I didn't. I couldn't choose. I couldn't call ourselves.
Jackson, I've got a bone to pick with you.
Troy,
So I was
what would
looking
you prefer the name to be?
Troy and Jackson.
Okay, I'll do that then.
On the Spotify account. No, it doesn't really matter to me.
Actually, I might do that. It sounds better. Because then,
Yeah,
if we turn this into a business, we could be the business of Troy and Jackson, and for some reason, your name will be first.
No, but when I was trying to because you sent me the link to the Spotify version of the podcast, right? And that's how we're going to get to the topic of the video. But the funny thing is, I tried searching for Average Bloke podcast, and it still came up with Alpha Blokes and all these other people.
I don't know why
Dad
either.
This.
Yeah, I don't know why it's hidden. It's weird.
But as soon as I searched Jackson Phillips.
Yeah, that for some reason gives the giveaway. I don't know why is the case.
Should I have not said your full name? Or your
I
last
don't care,
name?
it's fun.
I suppose. But I suppose it's on Spotify with your name on it.
Exactly. What does it matter?
But yeah, as soon as I search your name and go to Spotify, go to podcasts and TV shows, it comes up with this podcast and your Splatoon one.
Which is weird because I thought I was deleted that Splatoon one.
Oh, no, did you have it on Spotify or?
Not initially. Unless it's creeped itself away, because I guess what's happened is because I've recreated, I've done a new show, and then I must have had a previous account because I did not know this. I must have had a previous account already made, and on that account it was that Splatoon one. So
yeah, I get you.
It's weird.
Move this. There we go. I'm centered. Okay, so wait. Oh, I see. So it just uploaded it onto your already made account with it?
Yeah, must have. Yeah.
Oh.
Because when I logged in, it already had my credentials saved, so I'm like, oh, okay.
Is this Spotify or is this Acast?
That's Spotify.
Okay, so did you do the Spotify one separate to all the other podcast website stuff?
because so the Splatoon one, I originally did it on SoundCloud.
Ah, okay.
If anyone remembers SoundCloud. Huh?
Did they put it on Spotify or
they
did
must
you put it
have?
on Spotify?
No, because I can't remember.
Oh well,
because the original season I did that was back in 2018, 19. I did that stuff, but that was like the last time I ever touched it. And then I obviously did it a bit last year, but then again I lost the motivation for it because it felt a bit stale. So anyway,
I believe I said this in one of our previous episodes, but it's kind of hard to do a podcast on a specific game.
I mean, yeah, that's why they do it. People do it maybe once a week or fortfortnnightly, because like a lot of people do that fortnightly because you get other content creators. I can understand talking about it fortnightly. Plus, you can bring up like what's going on in like the competitive side of those sort of games, and yeah, exactly. But what was it? It's I'm trying to remember what I was going to say next. Doesn't really matter. But that brings us to our subject, I should say. So soon? You don't do small talk? Any highlights of the week you want to mention?
We can do small talk first.
Yeah, let's do that.
There's not much I've got to say except I've had a hard week. I've had a hard week and I'm a hard man.
He's a hard man, guys. This guy's rock solid. Right. He eats cement for breakfast.
That's right.
And then orders a shitload for KFC for dinner.
Oh, true. Because I had you on the phone when I was ordering.
Yes. I could not hear it.
I'll tell you a funny story like that, right? So I did the same thing with my mate James, except he was on the phone, right? And I start ordering my KFC, and as I'm ordering, I'm putting the volume down on the radio.
Oh, but that doesn't...
on the car radio. And as I'm lowering it, I'm hearing him go, "Yeah, I'll have a eggs and McMuffin."
Yeah. Yeah, lowering down doesn't mean he still can't talk.
Well, well, that's the funny thing. He's talking, but nothing's coming. Nothing. My speaker's on 0, so nothing's coming out. So after I order, I put it back up, and he's still going, "Yeah, and a thick shake and this."
When KFC don't do thick shakes.
I had to go. Well, he didn't know what I was ordering. He just knew I was ordering, so he tried to order himself something over the phone.
Yeah, he's not a true KFC person because he should know that KFC don't do thick shakes.
That's
true. They used to do those. Back in 2013 or 14, they did do.
Didn't they bring it out short time?
They did have a sort of thing where I can't remember what they're called, but I do remember they had some sort of Oreo thick shake or something. It was weird.
So it was a promotional thing or something.
Yeah,
like for
a summer thing,
a month or something. Yes,
I remember buying them constantly because they were so good.
It would make sense because I think they've got other Oreo. Oh no, they don't have any Oreo stuff. No, they don't even do ice cream. No, they don't do ice cream. They only do like chocolate mousse and that.
Yeah, and frozen drinks, frozen ice drinks.
They do like
frozen Pepsi, frozen
some
raspberry.
Sort of caramel, like a scone or something. No,
yeah, there's not a pudding. It's a
pudding. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's something I do know what you're talking about.
Caramel pudding. Isn't it caramel pudding or some sort of?
It's
you're right.
Like
it is some sort of.
There is something they do, and I don't know if that's a promotional thing too, but yeah. Anyway.
But yeah, not much is going on for me this week. I got this which I wanted to show you before. Which
for those who are listening, Troy is holding a Nintendo 64 controller, orange, translucent, and it's got a USB plug-in. So he's gonna try to play some games with it.
Probably, yeah. I was gonna play Rocket League with it, and now unfortunately I've screwed up my Rocket League controls with my Xbox.
Yeah, it's a problem.
The funny thing about this is like I was looking online. It was only $11. They sold them for more expensive as well, but like specifically, you could get the orange clear one.
Yeah.
For like it was one of the cheapest ones you could get, and I was like, that's perfect because my original one that I had when I had the N64 was exactly the same as this, like the same clear see-through orange with the chips and stuff on the inside.
Because they also did they had green, blue. For the other translucent
red,
ones
yellow,
too.
except they had green, blue, and they might have had a yellow one actually.
I think so.
I think every
color,
color,
orange, but yeah.
I reckon every color you could get, you could probably get a translucent one as well.
Yeah, there were a lot of limited editions or special editions of 64s back in the day. Like they were so hot. They were so many different
Do you remember the Pokemon, the yellow Pokemon?
Yes, very. And wasn't there a Pikachu on it as well? I believe.
Yeah, it had a bunch of Pokemon.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
But it was mostly, it had a couple of Pikachus, yeah.
Which is weird though, because the 64 only had like 2 Pokemon games. No, 3. Pokemon Snap and then Pokemon Stadiums. I'm pretty sure that's all it was.
Yeah, 2. It had both 1 and 2 stadiums. I had both games. I had all 3 games, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah, I only played Pokemon Stadium on emulator once. And
But my plan was the first video I was going to make, besides a little unboxing thing, if I ever get around to it, is I was going to show playing Rocket League with this.
Yeah,
like that was, and maybe a couple of other ones.
You know what you could do actually, if you do buy a Switch, you could probably plug that into the Switch and use that as a controller. And if you, I don't know why I'm doing an ad for Nintendo here, but if you if you buy the Nintendo Switch Online membership thing, you can play Nintendo 64 games with that controller.
Well, the funny thing is, right, when I was looking up this, it actually had a wireless one.
Yes.
A wireless N64 control for Nintendo.
But they're expensive.
I'm sitting there going, it's like $64.
Yeah.
Or 64, it's actually £64 or something.
They were part of the Nintendo Switch Online membership deal, so you could buy
that was
one.
That was the other thing. It said that you had to get the online membership to use it. How does that work? Sorry, you can't use this controller. You're not a member.
Yeah, we can't have your money because you chose not to sign up.
we don't take money for non-members.
It is pretty funny though. I mean, how that works.
True.
But they only made a limited run of them though, which is the other annoying thing.
True.
So because they did that for their controller, and they also did it for the Sega Mega Drive, and the Sega Mega Drive controllers never sold out because no one cares for Sega Mega Drive controllers.
Sounds about right. The most interesting thing to happen to me, most interesting thing to happen to me this week was having to pick up that controller because I got home today, went to the mailbox thinking, oh, the controller hasn't rocked up yet, and they're usually quicker than the estimated time. I was supposed to get it like not tomorrow but the next day. And I looked, and sure enough, there's a little post stamp thing saying, "Come pick it up at the post office." And
yeah.
It's annoying, like a thing. It's incredibly frustrating when it's something that can fit in your mailbox or something like that.
Or leave safely at the door or something, surely.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't leave specific instructions. If I had have left specific instructions, like leave it at the door, then they probably would have left it there. I've picked up a package before where they've hidden it under the mat.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
but it's just you see the mat and there's just this big bump underneath it in the front door, and you're looking at it going, I mean, you could have just put it on the chair next to it, but all right, whatever.
Yeah. So I guess from your hardworking week and your non-highlight week, my highlight week was today actually. So Letitia found a potty, a baby potty for very cheap.
Baby potty.
So the one she found was it was $15 on Facebook Marketplace. Usually they sell for about $50-$60 and as high as $90 on some sites.
That's ridiculous. What, for a little tiny potty?
Yeah,
you can make
it actually looks like a baby. It actually looks like a proper toilet, baby toilet. Like a little miniature toilet. Anyway, so
does it sit on the toilet or?
Yes, it doesn't sit on the toilet. It's just its own toilet thing, miniature toilet.
Okay, so you can't put it on the toilet and then put Savannah on top of it, because I'm just imagining a toilet on top of a little toilet on top of a big toilet.
Yes. So Letitia, we started potty training Savannah, and she did her first successful wee today.
Oh, well, that's good. Although it's a lot easier for girls and boys when they're learning.
Yes, because the boys can go and the girls just go trickle, trickle, trickle.
You're not going to look forward to having a boy and having to change his diaper.
I hope not. Well, that's kind of why, as much as I like to keep the Phillips name going, like keeping the family tree going, having a boy would be nightmarish just because of that. Because I've heard stories of people who've had sons or baby boys.
I love that. I don't want to have a boy because I don't want piss all over me.
I mean, one of the podcasts we listen to, I mean, I listen to a bit more than you do, Destructible. Bob won't
Actually, I've been listening to it lately.
Okay, well, Bob won't shut up. Okay. Bob won't shut up and talk about how he's got a son and keeps reminding everyone, I've got a son.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. What was the name? It was like a Christian name, like Henry or something.
Yeah, something silly. Anyway, so I remember one thing he talked about was when he was changing his nephew.
Mandy's staying up all night and then I have to get up this morning. But I have to suffer, but Mandy suffers more.
Gosh,
wait, his wife is Mandy, I think, because... I can remember
Molly is Wade's partner.
I'm used to hearing him use the word Mandy, so I know it's his wife.
Yes. So, and hearing a story about how when he was changing the boy's nappy, the pee went straight up into his face.
I was more interested in Wade's cat story about, like, Skeeter. Skeeter. What a name.
So, it is a name. That's a very American name. Americans have weird names for things. But, I don't mind. Like if we do have a second child, it's gotta be
maybe boy, maybe girl. I choose
sometimes
girl
maybe boy,
boy.
sometimes maybe girl. Who's listening to us right now? How dare you listen to us with this crazy content that we're doing?
Crazy content. Sometimes maybe boy, sometimes maybe girl. I don't know. I know it's girl though. I think you're one of the majority of I think the majority of the population of the world are sitting there going, I want a boy. And you're like one of the only guys that's like, no, girls all the way.
Because then
boy.
I could play that scary father role when they bring their boyfriend over. Or girlfriend.
I was just about to say you'll be the overprotective father. What? You can't have a boyfriend? Dad, I'm like 25. I moved out of home. No boyfriend for you. Only approved. You'll be.
And I'll be strangely Italian for some reason.
You choose lesbian life, dear.
Yeah, no, I don't think I'll be that super strict.
No. Letitia's more. I reckon Letitia's more strict. Would be more strict than you with a teenager.
Probably more likely. Also, and because Savannah's nearly 2. She's 2 in 20 odd days.
I can't believe she's almost 2. Wow.
I know, it's ridiculous. So,
you've done well.
Oh, thanks. We're still alive. I've still got most of my hair. For now. But yeah, anyway. Yeah, so that's basically been my highlight. Oh, I mean, the obvious highlight is that we're recording and it's the Easter long weekend coming up, which is nice. So,
oh yeah, it's going to be so nice. Everybody's going to be out camping, and I can just stay home.
I mean, yeah, and that's the thing too, because people will probably leave you to go on the long weekend holidays, so there's going to be no cars on the road.
Well, there's going to be cars on the road just on the first day.
Yeah.
In fact, I wouldn't be surprised, right, if there's a lot of traffic tomorrow, because people would be taking that extra day off.
Yeah, getting out early so they avoid the traffic, then becoming the problem of the traffic.
Well, yeah, I mean, the funny thing is soon it'll be like nobody's leaving Friday because everybody's taken Thursday off. That's
right. That's right. Yeah. Well, but anyway, yeah, happy Easter to people who celebrate Easter and whatnot. So, yeah. All right, Troy, shall we move on to the topic?
In a second, I just want to ask, don't you celebrate Easter?
I mean, yes and no.
Yes and no.
Well, it depends in which way you want to celebrate it. Obviously, people have Easter because of the worldly manner of, having chocolate, eggs and bunnies. But when it comes to church people, Easter's known for Jesus dying and then also being resurrected. So that's obviously the obvious meaning behind why Easter really is.
That's true.
There's probably someone listening to me right now saying, "Oh no, Easter is obviously for this reason. That's not what you were just talking about."
It's a pagan holiday, Jackson. For me personally, I probably more have fun with Easter with the chocolatey side, just because it does sort of span from a pagan holiday a little bit.
It does a bit, yeah.
So I
don't. Pagans, bloody pagans.
But anyway, we'll move on then.
Yes, moving on to our awesome topic, which is, us. Troy, why don't you start off with this one?
We are the awesome topic.
We're going to talk about us.
I shall start with us. Okay. So, as I mentioned earlier, Jackson finally got our podcast on Spotify, and we finally have one listener, and that's me.
Oh, that's awesome. Great. That's it. We've made it, guys.
And I've started. It's come full circle.
We should add that we are on Acast and Apple Podcasts too. Just by the way.
Yeah,
but I haven't really been checking so much the data on there lately. So, but yes, as for Spotify, Troy is our supposedly only listener.
Well, I don't know. You can't. How do you check to see? I don't know if you can check to see in this.
No, a login
as a listener. Yeah, so you have to actually own the account.
Yeah, I don't know how, because on Spotify you actually follow people. You can actually follow creators or artists or whatever.
Correct.
And then, but I thought, even though I have the credentials to log in and stuff, I should be able to see the data, but I don't seem to be able to have that.
Well, that's
weird.
So
I'll look into it.
That's very weird. But yeah, I've been listening to our episodes, and I started listening to our first episode on Acast when you sent me the link to that, and I couldn't really, because you have to have your phone open. I had to do it
you can't,
through a web browser.
Yeah.
And I was driving at the time, so I just left my phone to the side and listened to about 20 minutes of it on the way home. So I skipped the first episode because I didn't want to have to find where I was up to, and the quality is terrible by comparison. Oh my goodness, it's shocking. In fact, this is hopefully going to be the best quality episode so far, because I've got my voice here and
Troy's learned how to talk professionally, guys.
I've learned how to talk professionally.
Troy rang me during the week, or I can't remember which week it was, but you talked about I don't
this week.
think about when I'm talking, and I just laugh outrageously, and I wonder why my audio is weird.
It was this week, Jackson.
Oh, it was this week. Sorry.
But it's because I've been listening to our podcast for the past couple of days this week, and I've learned something very, very important. I'm really funny.
Actually, you know what? I'm glad you brought up this point, because I'm kind of interested to see, people who are listening to this point right now. Please go onto whatever podcast service you're listening to us to, and somehow leave a comment or review, because I want to hear from you guys. Now, every professional podcast out there has this one line where it's help us out by rating us 5 stars, and help us grow the podcast, grow the show. Well, screw the system. Vote 1 star and help us. And leave us a semi-honest review. A semi-honest review. Help. Help me.
Help me. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. No, but
So yeah,
yes,
anyway, you're funny.
It was quite interesting because I found myself actually laughing at myself, which I can't tell if that's a what's the word?
Self-indulgent?
A self-indulgent thing, or if it's just like I just find myself funny. But I also found myself interrupting you in parts and stuff like that. And
that's fun.
And getting off topic and then jumping back to a previous joke, etc.
But hey, I told you this on the phone call. We're very average. No one's there's no right or wrong way to do a podcast. Just be entertaining, make a little bit of sense, and just have fun with it all. Really, I
also find myself not making sense.
I mean, that's also fine. Because it's up to me to try and translate your mumble jumbleness to make sense for the people listening.
I mean, there were moments where I'm saying words and I'm not saying the word properly. Instead of saying thanks, I just did it then. Instead of saying, I said slaying.
Ah, yes, very, very, very professional. Yes,
I find my words slipping, basically.
Yes, no, this is why we reflect on ourselves, Troy, and review ourselves, just to put us into good stead.
I find myself missing a syllable.
we should clarify that we did all both graduate year 12.
But it was quite interesting because I found myself I noticed, which is what you do when you go back and re-watch or re-listen to something you've made. Yep. You sort of review. A good person who wants to improve themselves will review themselves from a critical standpoint.
There you go. You've learned it.
Yeah,
and that's how you improve. That's how you improve.
And it was amazing I was quite happy to see the difference between when I had this mic versus the older mic.
Yeah, I can't remember what microphone that even. Oh, it was the Turtle. Was it the Turtle Beach?
Turtle Beach.
Turtle. Every time we bring up that word turtle, we have to reference that silly movie. You're not turtle enough for the Turtle Club. And every time we do, I tell Troy that that scene was filmed on the same day as 9/11, which is again.
I don't know why you have this trivia information. You keep.
I can't remember where I got it from. It's just stuck in my brain.
Some sort of conspiracy going on or something?
Yes, there's a conspiracy about that movie.
Jet fuel doesn't melt lead. Also, turtles. Why was the movie filmed then? Why?
Yeah, at that moment, why? But anyway, yeah.
I'll continue on with I found it quite interesting. Just some of the one-liners that I could do, and how I contribute to the conversation, but also how I kind of slowed it down a little.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. I noticed as I'm listening, I'm hearing the frustration in your voice when I'm interrupting you.
He understands now.
I'm hearing, I'm listening, and you hear me tell a joke about something, and you're like, okay, so anyway, as we were going with, and then I'll jump in with and you're like, anyway.
This is the moment I've been waiting for this whole time, Troy, to be honest. This is really filling my heart that you've come full circle on yourself to realize okay, this is the areas I need to improve on. I sound like an idiot at this point, but hey, it's still funny.
Yeah.
But yes, I was going to ask you.
You got to improve yourself too, Jackson.
I mean, that's true. I got to look myself in the mirror sometimes, I guess.
you got the radio voice and all that, but you.
I mean, I don't choose to use it though. I don't. I mean, the style. The thing is,
also, I noticed Courtney in a lot of them too.
Yeah.
Continue. You were
saying.
That's
true. Yeah. There are styles. But the thing is, you just be yourself, because that's what brings out the best in you. Just be yourself. I mean, it's funny, when you can do a voice and do a style, but
what's your story?
It's the old saying, just be yourself, and people will like you for being you. You may not catch the eye or the ear of majority of people, but there is that small minority group that go, I really like that this guy sounds and how he talks, and and that's the thing I did with the Splatoon podcast. People liked it because they liked how I talked, and I was like, oh great, so I have the voice for radio, but I don't have a face for YouTube, so that's fine, I guess.
Actually, I wouldn't say the voice. It's more like you can articulate your sentences quite well.
Okay, thank you.
For example, I just said because I was thinking while talking. Well, you're able to talk while thinking at the same time without having to interrupt yourself or cut yourself off.
Yep.
And I'm finding it it's very difficult for me to do that, but that's probably because I'm not used to talking out loud into a camera like this while you've been making more videos than me.
Yeah.
And so you do it more on a regular basis, so you're more used to it.
Exactly. And that's just part of the experience and the learning curve, though, because, I mean, my first YouTube videos and stuff back in 2000, whatever it was, I was like, who's that guy? And like, I mean, that sounds very niching to say, but like all the big YouTubers now these days, they have those moments where they go back and reflect on their earlier content, and they all say that the same, like, oh, who's that guy? And like, and then they go like, you didn't have to be so worried, because obviously for some people that made their job, but when they started out as content creators, like everything for them was uncertain. So
true.
There was a nervous energy with those guys. But as for me though, because this content creation thing is just, it's a good hobby, it's a fun hobby that I enjoy doing, and I guess over time I've just found ways to enjoy it and improve and just have a lot of fun along the way, which is one of the main things why I like doing content, because and if it entertains people, that's also a bonus.
The other thing was with our small talks. It's quite funny because it's given me like a flashback to what's going on in the past, and I was like, oh yeah, I was supposed to do that. Like in half our video, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna make a video on this. We did I don't know if you remember, Jackson, but we did a whole video talking about what video games I should play.
Yes, how's that gone for you?
And it has not helped. It's still just playing Rocket League.
So,
and even then, there's been like 3 or 4 times where you've said, oh, we're going to be playing Rocket League while recording this, or, oh, we should do a Rocket League video. We still haven't done it.
So funny. Okay, so that leads me on to what I was going to talk about, why I texted you that the Chaser Report podcast.
Yeah, I hadn't had a look at that yet.
No, that's okay.
You left a comment?
So I left a review because they had this funny episode where they were like, let's just do minimum effort and then we'll get people to write comments or reviews. So I did. Because I've been listening to the Chaser and watching the Chaser for however how long they've been around for, and I've always enjoyed them. So they asked for comments and 5-star whatever. So I gave 5-star, but my comment, because I knew their style, so I'm like, I'm gonna write the silliest comment, and they'll probably read it. I'm like, if they don't read it, I'm fine with it. But they read it, and my review was 5-star, remindful show, and then in my review I wrote, this is just a reminder to tell myself to buy milk on the way home tomorrow. And they read it out and they said it was the best review they read it out and they said it was the best review they've ever had because they've actually helped someone.
Did they go like, all right, so we're going to go to our reviews, and here's a classic we found from Jackson.
It was the last one they wrote.
So they went, all right, we'll get to our last review. This was to Jackson, and Jackson says, blah, 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 reminding myself to buy milk today. And they were like, well, Jackson, this is a reminder, you should go and buy that milk, and we really hope you did.
And it was so funny because actually today Letitia went and bought milk, not me.
You should leave another comment. Like, my wife did it.
I should write a review. 5-star. Oh, it's all good. My wife bought milk instead. Like, I kind of want to write that as my comment. But it was just so funny because when they read it, I was like, because they were reading all the other reviews out, and because when they told people to write reviews, they said, "Oh, don't use any nouns. So just write words without any e's, i's, or u's." So like they were just reading it, which was like or whatever. Like just seems silly, and then they said mine for last, which was just so funny. And I felt kind of like, I'm like, oh, this is a silly comment. I don't think they'll read it, but I had a feeling that they might, just because of their style. And
I'm finding it quite amusing, the fact that because as we're talking, I'm getting flashbacks to previous episodes that I have listened to. Like when you said I was listening to the episode today that we did with Cole.
Oh, okay, the Reddit one, yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned like The Sims and them doing like classic songs in the Sims voice.
Yes.
And I did a horrible impression. My impressions were just kind of muttering.
I mean, it's not Simish though. It's just weird sort of.
Yeah, but this was literal muttering. Like it wasn't.
Oh, okay.
Like The Sims kind of sounds like its own language.
Yes.
But I was just going. It's the best way for me to
Well, I'm glad it comes around full circle yet again. But yeah, I was going to ask you before I went to that tangent. How do you think we compare to other podcasts that you listen to? Like, I know obviously we're very different compared to what others you listen to, but like in the ways of like, is there something that you like compared to what other podcasts are? Now, the obvious thing you probably will say is because, well, the reason why I like ours more is because I'm on it and I'm funny. But
no, that's the funny thing about it is it's not even the fact that we're on it that I'm listening to it. Like, if our podcast is actually not that good, right? Or at least to me, if I didn't find it that enjoyable, I wouldn't listen. I'm not that kind of person that would just listen to it because I'm in it. The irony is what I find is, like, I called you yesterday, I think it was, and right before I called you, I was listening to the podcast, and at the time, like, I had been listening to you talk for about like 2 minutes. At that point, like, obviously we've both been talking back and forth. But you had been talking for about a minute or two. And I went to call you and I was like, wait, it kind of feels like I've already been talking to Jackson because he's been talking to me. And I've been
that's brilliant.
I've been listening to us.
Yeah, exactly.
But we're not, I don't think we're not that bad compared to like we're not that much worse than, for example, Distractable.
Yeah, no, because
I'd say we're not as funny to a degree, but then again, we don't have three hosts. Which
I was going to say that's it.
It always helps having a third guy who's able to talk.
Yep.
But the main issue, and it's the thing I've been talking to you about for ages, is just our quality of how we set up our mics and our audios, which it's slowly getting better, fortunately, and hopefully, as I said before, now that I'm doing this a bit more properly, it should sound better on my end, and your end has just got that little. It just needs that little tweak. There's almost nothing wrong with it.
No, that's right. So, and like, this is the thing I've talked about, not just with you, but other people too. And like, anyone can podcast, right? Anyone who has like a certain passion towards anything, right? You can make a podcast about how to grow certain flowers, and no doubt there probably is a podcast out there. As long as you're like well spoken, you know what you're talking about. You know, you bring that little bit of joy to someone just because like you're talking about what they like as well. And like, again, as long as you know what you're vaguely making sense about, you can have a good show. And like, again, like, this is the thing, like, I don't know who's listening to us. I don't know if we're doing a good job. The only one I know is apparently we're doing a good job is you, because you listen to the podcast. And I'll be honest, I've been watching maybe 1 or 2 episodes every now and then just to help me pass time when I'm shiny hunting. So I'm not listening to them all the time or paying too much attention, because it's just a background noise thing to help me keep distracted while shiny hunting. But like, it's kind of nice because I do enjoy our content, because it's just two idiots sitting on microphones talking, but like at the same time, I find us entertaining, and you know, that's kind of what you want to listen to. If you find something moderately entertaining, you spend time listening to it. So I do listen to when I do listen to podcasts, and including ours, is that I don't always pay attention to everything, because when I'm at work, I'm sort of focusing on what's going on. Yeah. But what I do tend to find is it's not always background. Sometimes something will be said that'll catch my attention, and as I'm working, I'll actually be paying attention to what we're talking about. Yep. Like that Sims thing that caught my attention at one point, because I was like, oh yeah, it does. That was funny, but also that did sound kind of bad. Yeah, that's fair. The question that just came to... Yeah, go on, sorry.
I'll just say the other thing that I noticed is, I'm not going to turn around and say I'm racist, but I do find myself joking a little bit in that direction.
Well, this is the thing that...
I'm sitting there going, that's funny, but also that's bad. People are going to misunderstand completely.
The thing is, though, people know we're not dead serious, but like, your sense of humor is like on the borderline, on the edge of like, it's on the verge of just being a little bit over the top. But like, I know you're not like that. You're not that deep, sinister person who just goes out and says something that's just like, whoa, cancel him. You know, he shouldn't be allowed to say that. But like, because like, the thing with the Chaser, they're satirists, right? So their style of comedy may affect those who are very left or whatever, all very right, whatever, you know. So like, understanding where people's humors are coming from and like trying to realize, okay, they're saying this thing with no ill intent, you know, while it borderlines on the edge of possible racist, but we're not saying that we are being racist. We're just making remarks that could sound like it, but we have no ill intent. So understanding where people's comedy and their sense of humor is important too, because that particularly can find someone's little nerve, like they might like if you say something that's slightly off, you struck someone's nerve and like, oh no, that's it, no, listen to this show. No.
I can give you the perfect example. I remember saying, and this was me. I was talking seriously. I wasn't making a joke or anything, but I was talking about Crusader Kings 2, and how you can be a king in any area. Like you can be a sultan in Saudi Arabia or some Middle Eastern country, or you can be like a Chinese emperor, or you can be a king in England. And I said, but you can't. But you can't be in Australia. I said because there's no civilization in Australia. And then I had to sort of double back and correct myself and say there was no kingdom or there was no like large group. And you even came in during that conversation and said there were tribes and that. Like, yeah, there were tribes. There weren't really any big kingdoms.
Yeah, no, that's right.
And I found it funny because I was listening to it and I was going, it's a good thing we clarified that, because I'm sitting there going, people could misconstrue it as me saying that Aboriginals weren't a civilization.
This is why I'm the host, Troy. This is why I'm the host. I'm your I'm like your weird moderator.
No, I was trying to clarify at the time, but I couldn't think of the word tribes, and you actually came up with the perfect word because tribes was accurate.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's fair.
Wouldn't it be actually? That would be awesome if you could be an Aboriginal tribe in like Australia in Crusader Kings. You slowly take over all the other tribes in Australia, and then you move on and start taking over other countries.
Is Crusader Kings a bit like Age of Empires? Isn't that what it essentially is, or is it a bit different?
We had this discussion in that episode, and
I can't remember.
It was exactly you said that as exact words, but cool, I can clarify now. No, it's more like I said that it was more like civilization, but it's
yes.
It's more about knights, and it's about kings backstabbing each other and taking territory and giving birth to children who have a claim to thrones and all that.
Oh, yes, I remember this game now. Yes,
it's a simulation of medieval times. Is the best description for it.
Yeah, I remember Jacksepticeye, I think, playing it once or twice just for promo videos.
That's exactly... You said that in the episode too.
Yeah, okay. This is deja vu. Guys, we're having deja vu.
Have we? We're getting old. Jackson, we're getting old.
Look, I'm just glad you remember.
This episode, we're going to talk about getting old.
Yeah, we're not going to do a Bob and just mention it 3 times. Well, he did it twice, but it's still funny.
Did he?
He did it twice.
I thought that because there was an episode that Wade did that was very similar.
Yes. Sorry, yes, that's correct.
and they even they're like, oh Wade, we've done this before. He's like, oh no.
That's true. I do remember that. Yes,
what we're doing is more as a reference than a thing.
So the thing is, I do have occasional times where I struggle to remember what happened 2 hours ago or something, and that's just. Yeah, I'm glad though, because there are times when something may happen where it might trigger a point that might reference something else that similarly happened. So,
well, it's also like people are everything is creatures of habits, so they tend to repeat themselves. I mean, my job is just the same. Like I do the same thing over and over again, and my days over the past 4 years have been repetitions.
Yeah.
And before that, the past 4 years when I had a different job, it was a different repetition, but it was still the same thing over and over again. Mm-hmm. Which is why kind of working in a trade or something else is like doing an apprenticeship, for example. You're learning new stuff and all that. But once you're qualified in a field of some sort, your job tends to be. It doesn't vary as much. Some people's jobs do, some people's jobs don't.
So. When I just asked you about what you like our show compared to other shows, it made me remind of what I was listening to earlier today. I was listening to the Cryptid Factor podcast, which I've told you about in the past.
You have told me about that one. Where they release it once every 6 months or something.
Yeah, no, they're really hit and miss whenever they decide to do a podcast.
Yeah, it's random.
So I was listening to one where they did just before Christmas last year. Mm-hmm. They were talking a lot about AI because obviously modern times now we've got AI popping up everywhere. ChatGPT being the prime example, but then there's a Google one that apparently is in a bit of disarray apparently. But anyway, I was listening to the podcast and I'm like, oh, they're talking about AI. That's kind of topical because AI's everywhere. And then they brought up the fact like, oh, we should use AI to help us produce our content, like on the podcast show. And so what they did, surprise, surprise, use ChatGPT to make us. Or no, they used it to make a movie script based on their podcast. And I'm like, did we start something that everyone else is now doing? Because we used that InfoKit app to make up stupid stories, remember?
Yeah, I remember because I was listening to it earlier and I was actually going to make a short on that because that was that was probably one of, or it's the most memorable for me. It's my favourite episode.
Which story was the best to you though?
Yes, please.
Are you getting any coffee? Yeah.
She gave me this. It's coconut water.
Okay, you and your weak coconut water. Yeah, which I have a memorable story. Do you have one from that InfoKit?
A memorable story?
Yeah.
Yeah, the one where I've got a where I'm gay for you, but I have a vagina.
I remember the most too.
Oh my goodness!
It's a shocking thing that's our favorite one.
Yeah, I need to make well, it's just kind of like, what the heck is this thing talking about?
Oh, yeah, actually, I should make that for the YouTube channel. For those who are listening to it, we do have a YouTube channel where you can see the video form with this podcast. There's not too much.
Well worth it.
Yeah, it's well worth it. Even though there's not much different, you just get to see our smug-looking heads.
True, and me show off my my Nintendo 64 controller that connects to the computer that you can only see half of.
And Troy's wandering web camera. Which is funny because I had that. Remember
no,
when
Jackson,
I first used mine?
I'm in a storm. Remember
when I got mine your webcam and you're laughing at mine and now yours is doing it? Although yours is not the camera, yours is the program.
Yeah, I just went, I wonder if... Oh, cool. It was quite funny because you got the camera and then literally the next week when we did the next episode, that's when I downloaded the NVIDIA program and I was like, I can do that too. Does your camera still do it or have you just...
No, I turned it off. I turned it off.
Okay. That's fair enough. It does help in a way because that way you can see when you're actually moving too far or sway away.
Yeah. Okay. So, I've...
Did you go to InfoKit?
No, I went to ChatGPT because...
Oh, you're moving up in the world.
Yeah, I realised how it's a little bit better. So I'm not going to delve too much into this because I don't want to rely on this just for the whole episode because, AI is everywhere now. We've talked a lot about AI.
Can I just interrupt you for a second?
Go for it.
I downloaded that app version of it and used it, right? And it was quite funny because it wrote an alright story, but the problem is it just kind of used the words that I gave it as a reference. It didn't actually, like, if I wrote the word magic, it wouldn't say he used this magical spell. It would say he used magic. So it would be like, if I wrote it about, if ChatGPT or the one I used on the app version, if I wrote a story about you using magic, it wouldn't say Jackson was able to cast the spell of whatever. It wouldn't come up with a word. It would say Jackson used magic to do this. It was like the most basic version.
Yeah. I just stuffed it up. I got to make a script for a podcast. For the average.
I don't think it would know.
No, because
you're trying to guess
writing,
what we think the average blokes are.
The co-hosts were Tim and Mark, and they talked about self-help, which is far too serious for us, even though we've talked serious stuff. But
I can talk about self-help. I self-help myself whenever I get a chance. I have my lucky right hand. That's another thing I've realised. I make quite a few sexual jokes.
I mean,
quite a few immature sexual jokes. They are funny to me, but at the same time, I'm also kind of like, that one was a bit of hit and miss.
Oh my gosh, this is brilliant. Okay, this is okay.
Read it to me.
So, hey there, folks. Great opener. Welcome to the Average Bloke Podcast, where we talk about everything under the sun, but mostly just the stuff that we find interesting. And then Troy,
sounds like us.
So this is the part where you come in and you say, that's right, Jackson, and today we're going to tackle a topic that we've both been curious about for
That's right, Jackson. We're going to tackle a topic.
You don't have to repeat me. It's fine. I'll just read that.
You don't have to repeat me. That's fine.
And I say, yeah, Troy, we're going to talk about the art of parallel parking.
The art. Oh.
And you might be thinking, some of you might be thinking, parallel parking, that's not funny. But trust us, we'll make it hilarious.
Oh my goodness. Just watch the French.
So it goes on and talks about like, oh, how do you parallel park?
I don't. Let's talk about parallel parking. Don't do it if you can avoid it. End of podcast.
You say, all right, Jackson, let's start with the basics. How do you parallel park? And I say, oh man, I don't know if I should be admitting this, but I'm terrible at parallel parking. I always end up hitting the curb or the car in front of me.
Wow.
And then Troy says, that's why they call it parallel parking, Jackson. You have to be on the same level as the other cars. But seriously, folks, if you see Jackson on the road, give him a wide berth.
But seriously, folks, I'm moving around. But seriously, folks,
seriously, folks.
I'm gonna use that. But seriously,
folks.
Oh my goodness, that's terrible.
Oh wow, reference 3-point turns like K turns.
So here's the thing I noticed about these AR stories, right? Is they're very I don't know how to explain it except it has no soul. That's the only way.
Can I just finish?
Only way I can explain it. Continue.
Okay, so you suggest this 3-point turn, also known as this pie turn or whatever. And then, anyway, whatever. And then it says at the end, so Jackson, and remember, if you're going to parallel park, don't be like me. Use Troy's pie trick and take it slow. And if you see a car that looks like it's been in a demolition derby, it's probably mine. And that's meant to be the funny line. And then it says Troy laughs. We'll see you next time, folks.
Did it do the little star thing? Like put a star, Troy laughs?
It's a Troy brackets
or
laughs.
Brackets, yeah, that's the other one you put. You put a little star or brackets.
Yeah.
Oh, that's shocking. That's shocking. That's horrible. We should totally do that episode.
So, I mean, you were saying about ChatGPT being shallow or something. What was it?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's another way of describing it. It's the stories and things that it writes in that regard are very shallow in the sense that it's very. I'm not sure if it's just because they're working on these AIs or because the public doesn't have access to better AIs. They've got the simple AIs, but the stories, like, people are worried about these things replacing their art or their story writing, but the story writing's just missing. Yeah, soul is the best way for me to describe it.
Missing depth.
Yeah, missing depth. And the best way for me to describe this is I watched an episode of South Park that of course they did an episode about ChatGPT and how Stan used it to like text back Wendy.
Oh.
And it was so basically she'd send him a message and he just sends back a thumbs up every time.
Oh. That's
like, and it would show and it's literally a text. Like he holds his phone up, and the camera shows what's on his phone. It's her going. Her text says, "Stan, I feel like I'm losing you," and he sends a thumbs up.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, okay.
And then he talks to one of the other kids who goes, and he goes, "How did you do it, man? Like this girl says you send the best text messages," and he goes, "ChatGPT, dude. You just copy what they sent you and put it in, and it'll generate an instant reply."
Yes.
And he gets so good at it that he's sitting there playing video games, like just doing that, and his phone buzzes, and he picks it up and goes, tick, 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 puts it back down, and he sent the text. He's put the text into GPT, generated the response, and sent the response.
Yeah.
And he doesn't realize there's a problem until he's with her in real life, and she starts quoting and talking about his text messages. And she's like, "Oh, I'm so glad I was able to open up to you about that thing, and that it was so hard because of how it happened to me. And when you told me it happened to you too." And he's sitting there going, "What?" Because he had no idea what she was talking about. But the best part, and also the worst part, was the ending of the episode, because they used GPT to write the ending.
Oh, brilliant!
So they get to this point in the story where they've got the dramatic. They're going to get to the dramatic conclusion. She's locked up in the school library because they think she's using ChatGPT to cheat on her assignments because he sent her that many messages on her phone that like it's recognized it. And at the very end, he goes, "I'm not that creative. What can I do?" And he types into ChatGPT. He gives it the story that's happened so far, and then they play out the script of what ChatGPT wrote, and it just kind of turns into Stan told everyone about what happened, and it was good, and it ended. And at the very end of the episode, the friend who gave it to him says, "Dude, how did you get us out of that situation?" He goes, "ChatGPT, dude."
Do you actually know what the GPT stands for?
No.
So it stands for
generated something.
Yeah, yep. Chat generated pre-trained transformer.
Oh, there you go.
Which is interesting. It's called transformer.
But the thing that made it the worst part, the best and worst part, is because it was generated by the app, right? This is the actual ending of the episode. So instead of them like drawing a conclusion and sort of like summarizing like the good and the bad, it just kind of ends. The episode ends with a really stale. It just kind of goes, they did it. That end.
Troy,
they saved the day.
Do you have Facebook or Discord open?
Yeah, I do have Discord. Why?
Okay, I want to send you a silly message if I can somehow without ruining this.
Alright, fair enough.
Otherwise, I'll just Discord it on. So, let's just go like this. Okay, I want you to read this story to me.
Alright, hold on a second, yes.
Oh, what? Oh, I won't.
Yeah, you can have a last biscuit. That's why I saved it for you.
It won't let me send it to Discord, so I'll Facebook Messenger it to you.
Alright, hold on. I just gotta. Have I got Facebook on this?
You don't have Facebook on your computer?
Yes. No, well, I don't know if I'm signed in. I should be signed in.
Okay.
Should be stay. Yeah, I'm still signed in.
Okay, let's see if it. Okay.
It's all good. It's all good.
Read this story that I just sent you on Messenger.
Yeah. Could read it on my phone,
and
but I'll just
because you mentioned about how kind of low in depth.
Oh wow, that's long.
Chat. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's long. What was the previous thing you sent me?
All I said was write a story about Jackson and Troy playing Rocket League together.
I see.
And the champ won or something.
I see. Troy and Jackson had been best friends since they were kids.
Almost.
Courtney. They had grown up together, played sports together, and now they were hooked on playing Rocket League. Rocket League was a game that combined soccer with rocket-powered cars. The aim of the game was to score goals by hitting a large ball with your car, all while trying to defend your own goal. Troy and Jackson had been playing the game for years and had both reached the coveted champ rank 1. Yeah. One day, Troy and Jackson decided to play a few games together. They had played together before, but never as serious as they were about to. They were determined to win every game they played and climbed even higher up the Rocket League ranks. The first game was intense, and Troy and Jackson worked well together, passing the ball back and forth and making some impressive saves. I feel like I'm reading to a 2-year-old. Their opponents were tough, and it was close. It was a close game all the way to the end. In the final minute, with the score tied at 2-2, Troy managed to get a shot on the goal that just slipped past the defender and into the net. Oh, it goes on. Troy and Jackson let out a cheer as the game ended, and they high-fived each other. Wow, what detail.
I know.
The second game was just as intense as the first. Troy and Jackson were playing... See what I mean? It keeps saying Troy and Jackson, but it doesn't need to. We're playing against a team with a Champ 2 and a Diamond 3 player. But they didn't... Wow. They didn't let that intimidate them. Why would that intimidate them?
They got a diamond player. I'm so intimidated.
It's a diamond player. He's Diamond 3. He's not even Diamond 4. Wait, is there a Diamond 4? No.
No.
No. They worked together even harder and managed to take the lead early on. They held onto the lead, and with just a few seconds left on the clock, what do you think happened? Jackson managed to pull off the incredible aerial shot and sealed the win for them. Troy and Jackson couldn't contain their excitement as they celebrated their victory with a high five.
I'll read the last one for you.
I added that extra bit. Yeah, please do.
I'll read. The third game was a bit easier as they were playing against two players who were ranked lower than them, but Troy and Jackson didn't let their guard down. They played just as hard as they had in the previous games and managed to win convincingly. After the game, Troy and Jackson were both elated. They had played some of the best Rocket League they have ever played, and they came out on top, and they couldn't wait to play together again and to see how far they could go. Maybe they could even make it to Grand Champ rank together. The possibilities were endless, and they were both excited to see what the future held for them in the world of Rocket League.
Oh my goodness.
So, let's critique this story.
Mm-hmm.
Too many
It's
Troy
so
and
accurate.
Jackson. It is so accurate. So accurate. Everything's possible. The possibilities are endless.
Everything's so nice and equal and sweet. I scored a goal, like a finisher at the end, and then you scored a finisher at the end, and then we won the other game really easily. That's how it works.
It was
definitely doesn't get harder the more you win.
So because we just talk about AI, how a bit shallow and how depth it is, like a depth it's got.
See, the funny thing is that story had a bit of soul, but that's because I added to it.
That's But if you take that away, though, you think like that's a decent. You accept that as like just any old story about two people playing Rocket League, I guess.
Look, I think at the moment, like ChatGPT and those sort of AI programs are good for like writing an initial story and then sort of it's good for getting things off the ground, but you have to edit and change it. So it's going to be more. I don't think people are going to be able to write books, or at least not for at least maybe 5 or 10 years. They're not going to be able to write full-fledged books out for people to read or something like that. Like maybe art styles of AI are gonna be a little bit better than stuff that real people make. But art has become one of those things where it's all interpretive nowadays.
Yeah.
So it won't really matter. I mean, even this thing behind me is if I can get it out of this, that's a AI generated.
Yeah,
that's an AI generated. I just wrote fire tornado or something, and that was the best result. And it works and it's good, but I wouldn't pay money for it.
No, that's right. Especially because this is so much AI can do now. But I guess it's got to be the part when it comes more real life when it comes into a form of solid objects like robots and stuff like that.
Well,
which is when we'll start getting concerned. But
I'd like to think that hopefully it gets to the point where it's going to help more, so that way you've got less people doing dangerous jobs and people are able to focus basically just doing dangerous jobs, and people are able to focus more on what they want rather than what they have to do.
Yeah.
Imagine if you could build. Imagine if you designed a robot that could build a house for someone, like even in a third world country, they could like build a house out of wood, and it would only take them like a week or something if it was constantly working. Like you get so many houses built for people, and then you think about how like these sort of houses here, like a normal, like not normal, like a first world country house. Like imagine how quickly they could build houses for people, and things would be a lot cheaper and easier. Just it with robots, it makes things it's a whole different ball game with robots. Mm-hmm. Just look at the machines that we already have.
Yeah, robots making cars for us and stuff like that.
But the main issue is the source of power.
Yeah,
that's the one thing. We fix that. You fix that. It fixes everything.
Yeah, that's it. I just want to end with AI on this one note.
Turned into an AI episode. We were supposed to do dreams, Jackson.
I'll do it for next episode. It's fine. I asked the AI, ChatGPT, what should Presticle's next YouTube video be?
Ooh.
Disappointingly, it says, as an AI language model, I do not have access or information on what Presticle's YouTube channel is or what kind of content they create.
At least it's
Here's
honest.
Some general tips. Yeah, here's some tips. Identify your target audience. Choose a topic that you're knowledge and passionate about. Make it visually engaging. Keep it concise. End with a call to action. In other words, it's telling you to try and be proper YouTuber person, I guess.
Yeah, I know. I experimented because I downloaded the... actually, I'm going to look up what the app is called first, because I was telling you about it just before. It's the app version of ChatGPT, or one of the app versions. Nova. Nova is an app that's powered by ChatGPT. And I found it funny because I was like, how... Is this thing, like, useful? And I said to it, like, I said... I typed in struggling to sleep, like how can I sleep better? And it came up with the most generic, make sure to not watch screens. Like, it gave me a list of 10 things, like don't watch screens, go to bed early, like if you can't sleep, do this, and I was looking at it going, I could just Google this stuff.
Exactly
it was just a active form of Google for me.
Yeah, because that's another thing too. Because like when you talk about
screen, not screen, he dreams of being a robot. AI is dreams. What are you talking about? That is Jack.
Courtney been googling as well, is she?
I don't know what you call this. It's googling. What are you saying?
Well, I can't see because your screen's all funny.
Screen. No, I'm saying screen, aren't I? And what? Well, there you go. See, Courtney just pointed out when I was saying screen, I was actually saying scream. According to Courtney.
You know why?
Why?
Because sometimes when I tell you I'm gonna go, like when I'm streaming, I usually say, because I do this
screaming
for fun, I'm gonna be screaming.
No, I think it's just my. It's because I got ADHD. I think it's just my brain thinking faster than I can talk. Is the best way to describe it.
Fair enough.
Jackson dreams of being a robot.
Yes
what
and
about
no.
that?
That's how your topic is dreams.
That's how you talk. That's how we talk about dreams. We're not talking about dreams.
You're talking about
No,
AI.
we're not.
Yeah. Yes, we're talking about AI. I don't know what you're trying to say, Courtney. All you had to do was wait another 2 minutes.
I was trying to tell you that.
It's okay.
I did. Tell me, Courtney, do robots sheep dream?
They dream of electric sheep.
Sorry, that's it. The robots dream of electric sheep.
Could a robot do a podcast just as good as ours?
I mean, they got those AI voices, and have you seen those bloody Balenciaga?
I know what you're gonna say. Who?
The Balenciaga things?
No, I have not. I thought you were going to talk about the president's videos where
Obama, those are another thing that's been coming up. Those channels, whoever doing those channels are probably going to go big because everyone's talking about them at the moment.
Yeah.
And even I've watched a couple of them.
I
watched one or two and I was kind of like, I mean, this is all right, but I'm not interested. No, I'm talking about, those AI generated images that I was telling you about like a couple of months ago, about how you type up, for example, Harry Potter, but they're at the gym.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes up. It generates an image of like a big, muscly Harry Potter and like a friggin' and a ripped Dumbledore.
Swole Harry Potter.
It actually the names come up with Swatter.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me one bit.
And Dumbledore the Gaines or Dumble Gaines or something like that.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, well, these videos have been coming up where it's like Harry Potter, but Harry Potter Balenciaga. And it's actually those images, right? So, for example, the swole one, except they've actually got the mouth moving and voices talking.
Oh, okay.
They've got so someone's put the AI image of like a bodybuilded Harry Potter with Harry Potter's voice, an AI generated Harry Potter's voice, and like lip syncing, and made it say stuff like "get gains, get ripped."
That's brilliant.
So
that's good.
That's an example. I haven't actually. It's more of a fashion style thing. It's like Harry Potter, but he's fashionable. So it's got like the hair, slick hair, and like a freaking, I don't know what to put it. You know what fashion is? It's
neck collar.
It's Zoolander. It's Zoolander, but Harry Potter.
Zoolander. Okay.
So they're doing like the faces and all that while talking. And it's like it's got like Dumbledore, and he's like, "You don't understand what Balenciaga truly is, Mr. Potter." Or something like that.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
I mean, not Dumbledore, it's probably more Snape, but you get the idea.
So,
I'll send it to you.
We've kind of drifted away, obviously, from our topic, but I think it's good that we've sort of come full circle in the fact that now we've gone to a point on this podcast where we've talked about topical stuff, and now we've back onto AI, because basically this show's going to become an
it's going to turn
AI
into the AI show. Oh, it's just the current topic at the moment that everybody's talking about, and you're hearing about it, and you keep seeing about it on YouTube and other things and whatnot.
Because for those who are watching on YouTube, the previous episode's already been aired on YouTube, but obviously not yet on Spotify or podcast services. We talked about dumb AI stuff, like the Alexa stuff.
Alexa
buying toys and dolls and whatever ridiculously overpriced toys, and people are suffering because they can't take their money back because Alexa's all self-motivated or whatever. So
it was. Oh, I see what you mean, mate. Thinks of buying something. It's like, no, I didn't want to buy that. Funny. I'll finish up by saying, funny thing, right? So when we were on our way to dinner with you and the in-laws, we when we went to call you, Courtney and I were like, "Hey Google," because Courtney's car's got the Google set up, or the Android set up,
CarPlay,
and she holds the button down. It comes up with the voice thing because you can't search addresses. You can't type into search. You got to actually voice it.
You have to be stopped.
Well, no, no, you don't have to stop. You can type. You can talk, and so if Courtney's driving, she pushes a button on her steering wheel. It comes up with the, and she goes, "Hey Google, call Jackson," right?
Yes. Yeah.
And it goes, "Which Jackson?"
Sure, but first you'll have to unlock your device.
Oh, good job.
There you go. So it actually listened to me.
It's too good.
There you go. No, but it was terrible in the car because Courtney's like, "Hey Google, call Jackson Phillips," and she's like, "Who?" So I couldn't, and it literally came up with, "I couldn't find Jackson Phillips in your contacts."
That's hilarious. Wow.
And so I grabbed the phone and went in, and I'm like, "It's right there." And I'm like, "Hey Google, call Jackson Phillips," and it goes, "Calling Jack," and then it took us. We're yelling at it. It goes, "Oh, who's?" It's spelling your name wrong.
That's brilliant.
It's getting your name wrong. We're yelling at it.
Oh, that's so funny.
Courtney and I both yelling the same thing at the same time. And then I get frustrated and yell at Courtney because instead of focusing on the road, she goes, "Hey Google!" She's yelling at the friggin' screen in front of her and looking away from the steering. I'm like, "Courtney, focus on the road."
Oh goodness me!
Because every time I try to do something with the screen or the radio or something, Courtney has to look or sort of notice it and try and help out or do something, even when she's driving.
Yeah. I don't usually have any issues with my thing when I'm trying to call people. The only time it has issues with is if I'm trying to search a song. That's the only time I have issues with, or trying to get because when you hold down the home button, you say, "Hey Siri, what's this song?" and it won't pick up because it's just for some reason it's like, "I don't know how to turn the microphone on. How do I turn the microphone on?" And so you gotta make sure your microphone's activated.
We've done something similar, except I've said play this song, and it has play this song on Spotify. So if I said to it, "Hey, play the Average Blokes podcast on Spotify," it would go to the Alpha Blokes podcast or something else. Okay. It wouldn't play the thing you wanted, or it would play if I said play Starry Night, it would play Starry Night, just not the Starry Night that I was talking about. Not the popular one, this random one that someone made or something.
Also, I just should say, if anyone's phone when Troy said, "Hey Google, ring Jackson," if your phone legit tried to ring someone called Jackson, we deeply apologise, but we
that's
don't.
So funny. I hope it does. That'll be fantastic.
But yeah,
I've had that happen. I've had a podcast start looping because
that's okay. It's scary.
Yeah, because Google would pause it and then play, and then Spotify would rewind it back 15 seconds. Oh, not Spotify. Okay. Sorry, it was Apple.
Podcasts.
No, not podcasts. It was the Apple Books or Playbooks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Right. So I'd be listening to an audiobook. When it pauses the audiobook, it goes back about 15 seconds. Mm-hmm. So what would happen was, it would play this audio, and the person would say something. I don't know what it was because it wasn't "Hey Google" or anything like that. It was
interesting.
It was just some random thing, but the phone would pick up on it, diddling, pause the book, and then it would. Oh no, he didn't actually say anything. Then it would go back 15 seconds and repeat the process, and it started looping. So I had to skip 30 seconds ahead of this audiobook just to stop it from looping.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's weird because I've obviously got an iPhone. I've never seen or heard of Apple Books or whatever it was. So
it was Playbooks. It was Google Playbooks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Yeah. All right. Well, that should be about wrapping this episode up. Now I do want to mention. I did briefly mention about leaving reviews. I'm kind of interested to see if we can get anything going either on Twitter or
anyone
somewhere.
Do you mean your Twitter? Hashtag, or did you make one?
No, just a Twitter. Twitter. Use the hashtag.
Share us on Twitter.
To the Average Blokes podcast, but I listen to the Average Blokes podcast using the hashtag TABP. I think that's what it was.
It's adorable to see you try.
Thanks. Look, my brain was like, what's the letter of each? What's the first letter of each word?
I meant the sharing part.
Hashtag TABP and leave us a stupid comment. Just whatever.
Oh, another thing I remembered, right? So I'm not sure if this happened, but I think I stopped saying this I was saying it in the earlier episodes, but we'll talk to you guys later, and good eye, mate.
Oh, good eye, mate. That's good. Good eye, mate.
GG's and good eye.
Also,
mate.
Troy, let me know what you think of this episode. Say hello to yourself in the future when you listen to this episode.
When I listen to it, I might leave a comment on Spotify. If only you could.
Alright guys, thank you guys for listening, and if you're on YouTube, thank you for watching, and we will see you all next time when we feel like recording one of these.
Bye-bye.
Bye.